Good morning, Casey Basefield, Operations Section Chief for Alaska Incident Management Team. This is the daily operational briefing for Sunday, November 8th for the Creek Fire. Today, we're looking at a pretty substantial weather event coming in. It started yesterday afternoon, and so this is the first measurable rain or precipitation in this area since May 18th, which is good, but it also is creating a lot of dangerous road conditions out there. Some freeze-tine, black ice, so be super cautious out there. If you don't have to go into the fire area in here, please refrain from it, just for our folks' safety and for your safety as well. And so some of the higher elevations yesterday, China Peak, somewhere around 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they already had 4 to 5 inches of snow and expecting more. And so most of our equipment is down in the lower elevations. We still have folks on the roads out there, so if you're driving, be very cautious of that. There's also a lot of other activity in here besides us, and so again, be very cautious of folks working around out there. We'll have people moving about in the area, but very, very little. Looking at some areas in there to do some hazard tree removal. That's another big hazard we have out there with this moisture coming in. It also weighs the trees down, and so if they're weakened, they can fall over easier, but it also makes the soil a little less stable, and so these trees can be falling over. So if you are out there as well, keep a heads up with that and be very safe with that. On the fire itself, on the north, starting at Lake Thomas Edison and moving all the way across past the Lions Fire towards Madera Peak. We took a recon flight yesterday and took a look at this country, mainly up in Pond Lily Lake, down through Pincushion and up in this area, Saddle Mountain, and then the fire edge close to Margaret Lakes. Fire itself is very, the progression has slowed down substantially to pretty much a crawl. In some of that areas, there's a little bit of heat. It's mainly some ground fuel that's burning underneath the snow and some heavies. But as far as progression and movement of the fire, we didn't observe any of that. With this weather that came in, it was enough that it knocked the intensity out of it, and so the fire itself isn't growing in the fines. It's still in those heavier fuels that take a long time to absorb moisture and become unburnable. And so with the weather that's coming in, we're not going to call it our season-ending event. It's going to be our season slowing event, or fire slowing. So it's going to keep the fire in check. Once we start getting this 12 to 15 inches of snow, once that starts saturating the soils and the heavies, we probably could, like I said, it's not a season ending, but we can take our forks out of the drawer and set them aside, because we could potentially put a fork in this area here in the next week, just depending on what we're getting for weather and conditions out there. So again, with that, to be safe, be heads up out there and look out for our folks and other folks if you have to travel in the area, and have a great day. We'll talk again tomorrow.